He shouldn't have drunk so much alien girl's milk. Now he's facing a hard C defect. Sean Wilson never thought he'd end up in such an embarrassing situation on the Asteria Deep Space Medical Station as he lay in the sterile white medbay, his muscular frame racked with fever from an unknown alien pathogen. He could barely focus on the concerned faces of the medical staff hovering around him. His vital signs are critical. A deep voice announced, "Standard treatments are proving ineffective against this particular strain." Through his fever haze vision, Sean caught glimpses of the alien medical team, their scaled skin in various shades of green and blue reflecting the harsh medical bay lighting. The station's chief physician, Daraxon, a tall Soran with emerald scales and multiple rows of sensors, where his eyes should be tapped rapidly on his data pad. Human physiology is remarkably resilient, Daraxon mused, but this pathogen is specifically at targeting his immune system. We need something unconventional. That's when she walked. C had seen many alien species during his years as a frontier explorer, but nothing quite like her. The duty nurse's violet skin seemed to pulse with an inner light, creating an ethereal glow that contrasted beautifully with her flowing white hair, her golden eyes hypnotic and mysterious, fixed on him with an intensity that made his already racing heart skip a beat. Doctor, her melodious voice carried a hint of amusement. Perhaps I could offer a solution for my people's traditional medicine. Daraxon's sensor arrays flickered in what Sean had learned was their equivalent of raised eyebrows. Nurse Lai, you're suggesting my species' natural secretions have powerful healing properties, she explained, approaching Cheyenne's bedside. The bioactive compounds in our mammary fluid have been known to cure various ailments across different species. C's fever-addled brain took a moment to process what she was suggesting. Wait, you want me to drink your milk? Lava's lips curved into an enigmatic smile. It's completely sterile and processed through our medical extractors. Many species have benefited from its healing properties. She gestured to a sleek medical device nearby, though I should warn you the recommended dosage for humans is quite small due to our biological differences. Daraxon's sensors PP rapidly as he reviewed data on his pad. The chemical composition does show promising compatibility with human physiology. However, he fixed his sensor arrays on Shan. You must strictly adhere to the recommended dosage, no more than 50 milliliters every 6 hours. Sean nodded weakly, willing to try anything to shake this devastating illness. As Lavera prepared the extraction device, he couldn't help but notice the graceful way she moved, her violet skin shimming with each motion. The next few hours passed in a blur of fever and delirium. The medicine worked perhaps too well in his desperate state. Sean had ignored the dosage warnings, consuming nearly triple the recommended amount. As his fever broke and strength returned, he had no idea of the interesting predicament that awaited him. Sean woke the next morning feeling surprisingly energetic, his previous illness completely vanquished. However, his relief was short-lived when he discovered an unexpected and rather persistent physical reaction that made his uniform pants uncomfortably tight. No amount of cold showers or mental exercises seemed to help. This can't be happening, he muttered, trying to adjust his stance in front of the mirror in his quarters. The standard-issue station uniform, designed for utility rather than discretion, did little to conceal his predicament. A gentle chime at his door made him jump. "Come in," he called, quickly positioning himself behind his desk. The door slid open to reveal Nurse Lavera, her violet skin glowing even more radiantly than he remembered. "I came to check on my patient," she said, her golden eyes twinkling with what Sean could swear was mischief. "How are you feeling after yesterday's treatment?" "The fever's gone," but Sean shifted uncomfortably. "There seemed to be some side effects." Lover glided closer, her white hair floating ethereally around her shoulders. "Oh, do tell." Sean felt his face flush. "I think you know exactly what's happening. This isn't a normal reaction, is it?" "Well," she perched on the edge of his desk, far too close for his current condition. "I did warn you about the dosage. Our biochemistry has interesting effects on other species," though I must admit her eyes traveled downward briefly. "I've never seen quite this strong a response in a human before." "How long will it last?" Sean asked, trying to maintain his composure despite her proximity. "That depends." Lava's voice took on a husky quality that made his situation even more challenging. The effects usually fade within a few days, unless maintained by continued exposure. Sean's eyes widened. But you mean my species? Biochemistry is rather unique, she explained, and leaning closer, we evolved as natural healers, but also as potential mates for compatible species. It's how we've survived and thrived across the galaxy, and humans are compatible. Her golden eyes locked with his. In fact, you're the most compatible species we've encountered in centuries. It's quite fascinating, really. Before Sean could respond, his communicator buzzed. Explorer Wilson, report to the command center. Immediately came Dr. Rex's voice. Perfect timing, Scene muttered. How am I supposed to work like this? Lavera stood gracefully, her lips curved in that mysterious smile. Consider it a challenge, though I should warn you my shift starts in an hour and I'll be working in the command center today. The walk to the command center was an exercise in strategic movement and careful positioning. Sean had to dodge curious glances from various alien species, some of whom seemed convinced he was concealing a weapon. A group of insectoid security officers actually drew their stun batons before he could convince them he wasn't armed. The command center was bustling with activity. When he arrived, Iran's sensor arrays flickered rapidly as Shan entered. Explorer Wilson, good to see you recovered, though your biosignatures seem unusually elevated. Just some lingering effects from the treatment. Sean managed, positioning himself behind a console. Indeed, the Soren doctor sensors pulsed in what might have been amusement. Well, you'll be pleased to know we've cleared you for regular duties, though perhaps start with data analysis rather than physical tasks. The next few hours were torture. Law moved through the command center with deliberate grace, occasionally brushing past his station. Each time she passed, her natural bioluminescence seemed to intensify, making her violet skin glow like a nebula. During their lunch break, she cornered him in a quiet corridor. You know, she murmured, her golden eyes intense, there are traditional ways to handle this situation among my people. I'm listening, Sean replied, his voice rougher than intended. My quarters after shift change, she said simply, trailing a finger down his chest. We can discuss treatment options. The rest of the shift passed in a blur of stolen glances and building tension. Sean discovered that focusing on work became nearly impossible, especially when Lavera was nearby. Her presence seemed to affect him on a molecular level, as if her biochemistry was calling to his. When shift changed finally came, Sean found himself standing outside Elle's quarters, heart pounding. The door slid open before he could signal, revealing her living space, a stunning recreation of her homeworld's environment, with bioluminescent plants casting a soft, intimate glow. Lavera stood in the center of the room, her violet skin shimmering with anticipation. I should confess something, she said, moving closer. The excessive dose wasn't entirely accidental. My people have a saying, sometimes the best way to catch a star is to become its gravity. Well, you planned this, see? Asked, simultaneously shocked and impressed. Now, let's say I facilitated an opportunity. She smiled, closing the distance between them. After all, it's not every day we encounter a species as fascinating as humans. You're strong, adaptable, and surprisingly compatible with us. Plus, her golden eyes sparkled. I've never met anyone who could handle triple the recommended dose of our biochemist. Chemistry news of Sean and Lava's liaison spread through the station faster than a quantum virus. The morning after their intimate encounter, Sean found himself facing not only his persistent physical condition, but also the scrutinizing gazes of various alien species in the cores. Ambassador Krell, a towering reptiloid from the Draconid Empire, cornered Sean outside the command center. His scales shifted from deep green to aggressive red as he spoke. Explorer Wilson, your involvement with Nurse Lavar has caused quite a stir among our diplomatic corps. I wasn't aware my personal life required diplomatic approval, Sean replied, maintaining eye contact. Despite his discomfort, the persistent side effect of Lavar treatment hadn't subsided, making formal conversations particularly challenging. The Luminari are a highly sought-after species. Krell's forked tongue flicked out in agitation. Their biological compatibility with other races makes them valuable diplomatic assets. The Draconid Empire has been negotiating a potential alliance marriage for cycles. Sean felt his jaw tighten. Law isn't a diplomatic asset. She's a person who makes her own choices. How charmingly human, a silky voice interrupted. Ambassador Nyx of the Shadow can collective glided into view, her obsidian skin absorbing light, always reducing complex political matters to simple emotions. The situation grew tenser as Darrexon approached his sensor array pulsing rapidly. Gentlemen, Ambassador Nyx, this discussion should move to more private quarters. Explorer Wilson, Nurse Law, please join us in Conference Room Alpha. Inside the conference room, Lavera stood defiantly beside Sean, her violet skin glowing with increased intensity. The way her hand brushed against his sent electric tingles through his body, not helping his ongoing condition. The Luminary Confederation has strict protocols regarding interspecies relations, Ambassador Nyx began, particularly concerning our healing capabilities, protocols that were established when we were a protectorate. Lavera countered, her golden eyes flashing. We gained independence 3 cycles ago. My people choose their own paths now, yet you chose to seduce a human. Kel sneered, a species barely out of their gravity. Well, Sean stepped forward, his voice steady despite his discomfort. From what I understand, humans are uniquely compatible with luminary biology, more so than any other species. Precisely why this is concerning, Nick interjected. The political implications of such compatibility are none of your business. Laura finished, her glow intensified as she faced the ambassadors. My people's evolution as natural healers and potential mates for compatible species is our strength. Humans have proven themselves exceptional in ways none of you expected. Darrexon sensors flickered, and what Sean had learned was amusement indeed. Explorer Wilson's ability to process triple the recommended dose of luminary biochemistry is unprecedented. Most species would have experienced severe adverse reactions. Instead, he just got Lai's lips curved in that mysterious smile that drove Sean crazy enthusiastic. The meeting continued for hours with political implications and biological compatibility debates flying back and forth throughout it all. Sean couldn't help but notice how Lavar's presence affected him, not just physically but emotionally. Her fierce defense of their relationship, her subtle touches and knowing glances made him realize this was becoming much more than a simple liaison. As they left the conference room, Laura pulled Sean into a secluded alcove. The Shadowan will try to interfere, she whispered, her body pressed against his. They've always envied our biological advantages, and the Draconids let them try. Sean growled, his hands finding her waist. I've faced worse odds have you. Her golden eyes sparkled with mischief. Even with your current condition, you're not making it any easier, he groaned as she pressed closer. Maybe I don't want to make it easier, she purred. Maybe I like knowing how you react to me, how your human physiology responds so enthusiastically to mine. Their moment was interrupted by an urgent station-wide announcements. Security alert, unauthorized access detected in medical database. All personnel report to designated security zones. They after our compatibility data. Lavera realized, her glow dimming slightly. The Shadowkin won't accept being diplomatically outmaneuvered by humans. Sean straightened, his explorer training kicking in. Then let's give them something else to worry about. I may be dealing with an awkward situation, but I'm still a trained professional. The security breach in the medical database turned out to be just the beginning. Sean and Law found themselves at the center of an increasingly complex web of political intrigue, all while trying to manage their deepening relationship and Sean's persistent condition. The Shadowan have planted surveillance devices throughout the medical wing scene. Reported during their clandestine meeting in the station's hydroponics garden at the lush alien vegetation provided both cover and privacy. They're particularly interested in the biochemical analysis of our compatibility. Lever's violet skin pulsed with indignation, creating mesmerizing patterns that made it difficult for Sean to maintain focus. My people's biological processes aren't some political bargaining chip, she said, moving closer to him, though I must admit your particular reaction has been intriguingly persistent. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Sean groaned as she deliberately brushed against him. Perhaps she smiled, her golden eyes twinkling. It's rather flattering to have such a visible effect on a strong human. Male, besides your enhanced condition, has proven quite useful in detecting surveillance equipment, the Shadowkin. Devices emit a frequency that seems to intensify your response. Fantastic, Sean muttered. I'm a walking security scanner. Their conversation was interrupted by Dr. Ron's urgent message. Emergency. Meeting in the secure conference room. The Draconid Empire has filed a formal protest against human luminary relations. In the conference room, Ambassador Krell was practically radiating smugness. The Empire demands that all data regarding human luminary compatibility be classified as restricted diplomatic information. On what grounds? Sean challenged, trying to maintain a dignified stance. Despite his perpetual discomfort, the unprecedented nature of your reaction to luminary biochemistry poses potential security risks. Ambassador Nix added smoothly, what if this compatibility could be weaponized? Weaponized? Lava's laugh was musical. The only weapon here is the one Sean is constantly accused of concealing in his pants. Several of the alien diplomats shifted uncomfortably, their various sensory organs twitching at the direct reference to Sean's condition. The Luminary Confederation stands with Earth on this matter, a new voice announced, and Ambassador Anira, Lavera Superior, materialized in the doorway, her skin glowing with authority. Our species has always sought compatible partners across the galaxy. The fact that humans have shown such remarkable adaptation to our biochemistry is a natural development, not a political crisis. Unless, Sean added with a knowing smile, certain empires are concerned about being rendered obsolete by human luminary cooperation. The meeting devolved into heated debates about gene sovereignty, interspecies relations protocols, and the implications of human adaptability. Throughout it all, Lavera kept finding excuses to brush against Sean in on each contact, sending waves of electricity through his body and making diplomatic posturing increasingly challenging. Later that night in Lava's quarters, she helped Cheyenne sweep for new surveillance devices. The Shadowkin are becoming desperate, she observed, her bioluminescence creating in shadows. They've never encountered a species they couldn't manipulate or intimidate. Humans are notoriously stubborn, Sean replied, pulling her close. Especially when someone tries to tell us who we can or can't be with. Is that why you're still here? Her golden eyes searched his face. Despite all the political complications and your ongoing situation, I'm here because what's happening between us is more than just biology or politics, Sean said softly, though I have to admit your mischievous enjoyment of my condition is both infuriating and endearing. Speaking of your condition, Lavar traced a finger down his chest, her touch leaving trails of tingling warmth. My people believe that such strong biological responses indicate deeper compatibility, not just physical, but emotional and spiritual as well. Before Sean could respond, the station's alert system blared to life. Security breach in diplomatic quarter unknown. Agents attempting to access restricted medical files. Perfect timing, Scene sighed, reluctantly stepping back. Though maybe we can use this interruption to our advantage. How so? Aura's glow pulsed with curiosity. The Shadowkin and Draconids are so focused on the political implications of our relationship they've overlooked something crucial. Sean grinned. My condition isn't just embarrassing, it's proof of human adaptability. And right now it's telling me there's unauthorized surveillance equipment 3 corridors down. They move through the station's dim night cycle lighting, Shiz and Hank sensitivity, leading them straight to a group of Shadowkin operatives attempting to hack into the medical mainframe. Fascinating, Darvarexon commented later after the intruders had been apprehended. The luminary biochemistry has enhanced your natural human intuition. Your species' remarkable adaptability combined with luminary biolog ICAL properties has created something entirely new. Ambassador Anira nodded approvingly. This is exactly why the Luminary Confederation supports human integration into galactic society. Your species doesn't just survive, you thrive on challenges that would break others. Though some challenges are more persistent than others, La whispered to Sean, her breath warm against his ear. The political landscape shifted dramatically over the next few days. The Draconid Empire and Shadow can call live were forced to withdraw their protests when evidence of their espionage attempts became public. More importantly, other species began showing interest in human luminary cooperation, seeing it as a potential path forward for their own development. You've started quite the revolution, Lavera mused as they watched the station's artificial sunset from her quarters, though I suspect it's not quite the kind of uprising you expected. When you first got sick, nothing about this has been expected. Sean poured closer, her violet skin glowing warmly against his bronze complexion. But I wouldn't change it for anything, not even your persistent predicament. Her golden eyes sparkled with that now familiar mischief. Well, maybe that could use some adjustment, he laughed, though I have to admit it's been an effective diplomatic tool. Nothing confuses hostile aliens quite like accusing them of weapon smuggling while being accused of the same thing. The arrival of the Earth delegation brought new complications to Shah's already challenging situation. Admiral Helena Richardson, a stern woman with steel-gray hair and piercing eyes, led a team of human scientists eager to study the unprecedented compatibility between humans and luminary. Explorer Wilson, the Admiral, addressed Sean during their first meeting, her gaze deliberately fixed on his face. Your condition has sparked quite the interest back home. The potential military applications alone. With all due respect, Admiral, Sean interrupted, shifting uncomfortably in his chair. I'm not interested in becoming a test subject for military enhancement programs. James Creston, the delegation's lead scientist, couldn't contain his enthusiasm. But the implications are extraordinary. The way your body has adapted to luminary biochemistry suggests possibilities we never imagined, and the persistent side effect indicates a level of sustained biological enhancement previously thought impossible. Lavera, who had been quietly observing, stepped forward, her violet skin pulsing with protective intensity. Shay isn't a laboratory specimen. Our connection goes far beyond mere biochemistry. Ah yes, the emotional component. Dr. Creston adjusted his glasses. If we've noted unusual patterns in Explorer Wilson's neurological readings, the combination of human hormones and luminary bioluminescence seems to create a unique synergy. That's one way to put it, Sean muttered, acutely aware of Lava's proximity and its effect on his perpetual condition. The Admiral's expression softened slightly. We're not here to interfere with your relationship. Explorer Earth recognizes the diplomatic importance of successful human-alien partnerships. However, we need to understand the full implications of this compatibility. Throughout the day, Sean endured a battery of tests and interviews. The Earth scientists were particularly intrigued by his enhanced sensory abilities. A side effect nobody had anticipated. Remarkable, Dr. Creston exclaimed after one particularly thorough scan. The luminary biochemistry hasn't just affected your obvious condition, it's enhanced your entire nervous system. You're essentially a walking sensor array. Tell me something I don't know, Sean replied, thinking of all the surveillance devices he detected lately, though I could do with less enhancement in certain areas. During a brief break, Lavera pulled him into a quiet corner of the medical bay. Her golden eyes held a mixture of concern and amusement. Your people seem very focused on the practical applications of our compatibility. Humans have always been pragmatic, he said, drawing her closer despite his better judgment, though right now I'm more interested in the personal applications. Her skin glowed brighter at his touch. The Earth scientists might be missing the most important aspect of our connection, she whispered. My people believe that such strong biological responses indicate a rare form of soul resonance. Soul resonance? Sean raised an eyebrow. A perfect alignment of biological and spiritual energies, she explained, her fingers tracing patterns on his chest. It's why your reaction to my treatment was so intense. Your human physiology wasn't just compatible with mine, it was waiting for it. Their intimate moment was interrupted by Admiral Richardson, clearing her throat. If you two are finished, we have more tests to run. Her stern expression couldn't quite hide her fascination with their interaction. Later that evening, during a formal dinner with both Earth and alien delegations, Sean found himself defending his relationship against increasingly probing questions. But surely, a human biochemist insisted, you must see the potential for developing enhanced combat capabilities. The only thing I see, scene cut in his patience wearing thin, is a bunch of Scientists trying to turn something beautiful into a weapon, yes. I have an embarrassing condition, yes, it's given me some unexpected abilities, but what's happening between LeVar and me isn't about military applications or diplomatic advantages. The dining hall fell silent at his outburst. L's glow intensified, bathing the room in a soft violet light that seemed to pulse in sync with Sean's heartbeat. Perhaps Ambassador Era interjected smoothly, "We should consider this from a different perspective. The Luminary have always believed that true compatibility manifests in unexpected ways. Explore Wilson's condition, while amusing to some." She gave La a knowing look. Demonstrates humanity's unique capacity for adaptation. Direction sensors flickered rapidly. Indeed, most species would have suffered severe adverse reactions to such a high dose of luminary biochemistry. Instead, humans not only survive but thrive, developing enhanced capabilities beyond our predictions. Admiral Richardson leaned forward, her interest piqued. Enhanced capabilities beyond the obvious. She has heightened sensitivity to surveillance equipment, has already thwarted 3 attempted security breaches. LeVar explained, her hand finding his under the table, and his ability to detect biochemical signatures has proven invaluable in medical emergencies, not to mention Messine added, with a wry smile, my new talent for identifying hidden political agendas. Something about this condition makes it impossible to hide things from me. The Earth delegation exchanged meaningful glances. Dr. Creston's excitement was barely contained. This could revolutionize our approach to interspecies relations if we could study the mechanism behind this compatibility without attempting to weaponize it, the Admiral added firmly, surprising everyone. Sometimes the most valuable discoveries are the ones we don't turn into weapons. After dinner, Sean and La escaped to the station's observation deck. The vast expanse of space stretched before them, stars twinkling like distant promises. Your people are fascinating, LeVar mused, her violet skin reflecting the starlight. Most species would have immediately focused on military applications, but your Admiral, she sees something more. Humans are full of surprises. Sean pulled her closer, no longer caring about his persistent condition, though not as many as certain luminary nurses who deliberately overdose their patients. Her golden eyes sparkled with mischief. I merely provided the catalyst. Your human physiology did the rest. Her fingers traced the line of his jaw. Though I must admit the results exceeded even my expectations. You planned this from the start, didn't you? He couldn't keep the admiration from his voice. Let's say I recognized potential when I saw it. She smiled. My people have been searching for truly compatible partners for millennia. When you arrived at the station, your biochemical signature was I. Intriguing, so you decided to conduct an unauthorized experiment. I decided to follow my instincts, she corrected, her glow pulsing with emotion. And those instincts were right. Despite your persistent predicament, our connection has proven stronger than any political machination or scientific inquiry. The breakthrough came during a routine medical scan. Creston's excited voice echoed through the medical bay as he stared at the holographic display of Sean's biochemistry. This is unprecedented. The luminary compounds haven't just affected your system, they've been completely integrated into it. Your DNA has actually adapted to incorporate their biological properties. Sean, trying to maintain a comfortable position on the examination table, raised an eyebrow. Is that why my condition hasn't subsided? Levera, monitoring the readings with professional interest, despite her personal involvement, let out a musical laugh. Your human adaptability has essentially turned a temporary treatment into a permanent enhancement. Though some enhancements are more noticeable than others, the implications are staggering. Raxon sensors pulsed rapidly. No other species has ever achieved this level of integration with luminary biochemistry. Most either reject it entirely or suffer severe complications. Admiral Richardson, who had been quietly observing, stepped forward. What makes humans different? It's your evolutionary history, LeVar explained, her violet skin glowing with excitement. Humans evolved on a planet that required constant adaptation. Your bodies are programmed to embrace beneficial changes, not fight them. And my persistent condition, Sean asked, acutely aware of Lei's proximity, is actually a sign of perfect compatibility. She smiled, her golden eyes twinkling. Your body recognized something beneficial in my biochemistry and refused to let it go, though perhaps it's being a bit overzealous in its enthusiasm. The news spread through the station like wildfire. Species that had previously dismissed humans as primitive newcomers suddenly showed intense interest in potential partnerships. The Draconid Empire, and Shadow and Collective in particular, scrambled to reverse their previous positions. Humanity's adaptability could revolutionize interspecies relations. Across the galaxy, Ambassador Anira announced during an emergency council meeting the ability to not just tolerate, but integrate beneficial traits from other species opens up possibilities we never imagined. Sean, standing at attention despite his perpetual discomfort, couldn't help but notice how lovers' glow seemed to intensify. Whenever their eyes met, the connection between them had grown stronger, more profound, transcending mere physical attraction or biochemical compatibility. Of course, Ambassador KR interjected, his scales shifting colors rapidly. This raises questions about genetic sovereignty and species integrity. Please, Lavera cut in, her patience finally wearing thin. You're just upset that humans achieved naturally what your empire has been trying to engineer for centuries. Their adaptability isn't a threat, it's a gift. Later, in the privacy of Lava's quarters, Sean pulled her close, no longer embarrassed by his body's constant response to her presence. You knew this would happen, didn't you, when you first offered me your treatment? Her skin pulsed with soft violet light. I suspected your species had unique potential, though I didn't expect such an enthusiastic demonstration of compatibility. The Luminary have always sought genuine connections across species, she continued, trailing her fingers along his chest. But most races either fear change or try to control it. Humans, you embrace it. You see possibilities where others see threats, even when those possibilities lead to awkward situations. Scene grinned, pulling her closer especially. Then she laughed, her golden eyes sparkling. Your persistent condition might be inconvenient, but it's also proof of something remarkable. Human adaptability isn't just physical, it's emotional, spiritual. You don't just have survived change, you thrive on it. Their intimate moment was interrupted by an urgent call from Dr. Creston. Explorer Wilson, you need to see this immediately. We've discovered something extraordinary in your latest scans. In the medical bay, holographic display showed Sean's transformed biology in stunning detail. His DNA structure had not only adapted to luminary biochemistry, but had begun developing entirely new properties. Your enhanced sensory abilities were just the beginning, Dr. Creston explained, barely containing his excitement. Your body is actively evolving, creating a perfect synthesis of human and luminary traits. It's as if your DNA recognized an ideal map and refused to let it go, like a biological soulmate. Scene glanced at Lavera, who was studying the displays with intense interest. More than that, she said softly, my people have legends about perfect compatibility pairs whose biology and spirit align so completely that they create something entirely new. We call them star-crossed, though not in the tragic human sense. Admiral Richardson leaned forward. Are you suggesting this goes beyond physical compatibility, much beyond? Rexon interjected, his sensors flickering rapidly. The energy patterns we're detecting suggest a level of resonance that transcends normal biological bounds. It's as if their very essence is harmonizing. The implications stun the galactic community. Reports of the human capacity for deep biological and spiritual compatibility spread rapidly, causing a dramatic shift in how humanity was perceived. Species that had dismissed humans as primitive now saw them as potentially revolutionary partners in evolution. Your people never cease to amaze me, Lavera murmured later as they watched the station's artificial sunset. Most species would be terrified of such profound changes, but humans, you're excited by them. Well, Sean pulled her closer, his body responding to her presence as intensely as ever. Some changes are worth embracing, even if they come with challenging side effects. Her violet skin pulsed with emotion. You know, there are ways to channel that particular side effect more productively. Oh, Sean raised an eyebrow, his heart rate increasing at her suggestive tone. She pressed against him, her golden eyes hypnotic. My people have extensive experience in managing intense biological responses, though in your case management might not be the right approach. The area deep space medical station had become the epicenter of a galactic revolution. Species from across known space sent representatives to study the unprecedented phenomenon of human luminary compatibility. Sean found himself at the center of it, although not always in ways he appreciated. "No, I will not provide detailed measurements of my condition," he stated firmly to an overeager Centaurian researcher. "The medical scans you already have should be sufficient." Law, standing nearby, couldn't suppress her amusement. Her violet skin pulse with barely contained laughter. "Perhaps we should focus on the broader implications rather than specific manifestations." The station's main conference hall had been converted into a symposium center where Dar Creston and Dar Rexon presented their findings to an eager audience. Holographic displays show the intricate dance of human in luminary biochemistry, though Sean noticed they tactfully avoided showing certain aspects of his condition. "The key lies in humanity's unique evolutionary history," Dar Creston explained. "Unlike most species, humans developed in an environment that required constant adaptation and outward. This made their genetic structure remarkably flexible and opportunistic." In essence, LeVar added, her professional demeanor barely masking her personal interest. "Humans don't just tolerate beneficial traits from other species, they actively incorporate them." Though sometimes with unexpected enthusiasm, Sean shifted uncomfortably in his seat as several alien delegates turned to study him with renewed interest. His persistent condition had become something of a legend among the station's inhabitants, though most were too polite to mention it directly. Ambassador Anira took the podium next. "The Luminary Confederation proposes a new initiative for interspecies cooperation. With humanity's demonstrated capacity for beneficial adaptation, we could enter an unprecedented era of galactic harmony."